50% of the properties that I own today still have the same tenants in them that I placed when I first bought the property. So today, I'm going to dish out all the secrets on how to reduce your vacancy and get top rents. Hi there, and welcome back to Brick by Brick Wealth. My name is Franchini, and I teach aspiring real estate investors how to be successful with their very first rental property. Every month, your rental property is vacant. You lose not only rental income, but you're also back to footing the bills for your mortgage payment, the utilities, a due to mow the lawn, home insurance, property taxes, and it drastically increases your risk of break-ins, theft, and property damage. Also, being greedy with rent, being a slumlord, being cheap and lazy are a slew of other reasons why properties sit vacant and don't get top rents. Owning rental properties is a definite business. And if you don't want to go out of business, you need to learn how to get top rents and reduce vacancies in your properties. So today, I'm going to break down exactly how I get my tenants to keep renewing their leases year after year and how I get top rents from them in the very beginning. And if you stick around until the end, I'm going to let you in on a secret method that actually gets my tenants to ask for a rent increase. Okay, let's tackle how to get top rents first. And then we're going to talk about how to keep your tenants renewing their lease every single year to reduce your vacancy. Because after all, this is a money-making business and a service. Now, to get top rents, you need to know your market inside and out. You want your rental property to be the best one in the neighborhood and the best deal. And to have the best property in the neighborhood means you need to start thinking about the values and the things that the tenants want before you even go property searching for your rental property. Your best chance of getting top rents and tenants that keep renewing their lease year after year is by knowing what amenities, what number of bedrooms and bathrooms, square footage, location, yard size, etc. your tenants are looking for. Then go buy a property that meets all those criteria. It is much easier to start off with a good property that everybody wants than to try and turn a dud into a performing rental. If the competition has washers and dryers in the kitchen, for example, then wouldn't having a washer and dryer in a separate laundry room be more ideal? Look for properties that already have a separate laundry room, or when you're doing your property search initially, plan on making those adjustments after purchase. If no one has a garage in the neighborhood and you have a garage, your property just became more desirable and will get more rent. If you have a property that has stainless steel appliances and a brand new kitchen, that property will rent faster and for more money than the one that's for rent next door with a 1970s kitchen and old appliances. Know your market like the back of your hand and start off on your rental property journey with an already desirable property. You will need to do a lot of research because just because a property is for sale doesn't mean it's going to rent. There's a lot of factors that contribute to a property renting well, and you need to be the one to do the research. Don't make that newbie mistake of having no idea about your rental property market and letting your property manager or your realtor take the lead and tell you what you should know, because that's lazy. And by doing that, you're putting your future into the hands of people who frankly just don't care about your deals and your investments as much as you. So you owe it to yourself to do the work and do the research. When you're looking for properties for sale, look for properties that have potential for even more cash flow down the road. Think properties that you can upgrade later but are okay now. Properties where you could possibly add an extra bathroom or convert a room into another bedroom. Buying a property with hidden potential that no one else can see is the cheat code for making even more money with rental properties, with cash flow and appreciation. And that's what makes a top-notch real estate investor, but you have to do the work. Please don't rely on a property manager or a realtor to know this information for you. One of the fastest ways to reduce vacancy and get great tenants is by offering your property for rent slightly below market rent, slightly below the competitors. For example, if you have similar properties in the area renting for $1,600, consider putting yours at $1,525 or $1,550. Tenants will actively look for the best deal. And if your property is better in all other ways, you're going to get to choose the creme de la creme tenants for your property. You can always make up that difference in rental payment with monthly pet fees if they have pets. When you list your property for rent is also very important. If you want the best tenant selection, list your property from March until July. During that time period, you will be able to get more rent for your property than had you listed it in the winter months. Once school starts in August, rental demand starts slowing. Properties will sit on the market longer, and you'll see more rent decreases. This continues into the winter After August, we have September, October, November, December, January, and February. Renting in the winter really kills your rent amount. And houses can sit vacant until spring comes. And this is especially true in the snowy markets on the East Coast and the Midwest. Now, offering a quality home that is move-in ready is key to attracting top tenants that will never want to leave and will pay top rent to begin with. Because tenants are going to pay more now for a home that's clean, upgraded, and well taken care of. Don't just meet the bare minimum requirements when it comes to your rental property unless you want the bare minimum tenant. If you're planning on doing any upgrades with your property, focus on neutral, whitish tones throughout. Don't get crazy, and grays are out. Think white ceilings, clean floors, and updates wherever you can. Definitely, though, look at your competition for inspiration and don't go overboard. No need for stainless steel appliances and a rental that's only $500 a month, okay? Now, if you want to know exactly what appliances to put in rental properties, and I mean model and how much they cost and where to get them, you're definitely going to want to check out my video on appliances, and I'll put the link in the description below. Besides the kitchen, make sure everything works perfectly and everything is in tip-top condition. Shoddy workmanship, dirty walls, dirty pipes behind the toilet, that's gross, and potential tenants see that right away. And that is an indicator of the type of service they're going to receive as tenants in the future. A seasoned rental property investor once told me that your rental properties will look like your tenants. So do you have a scummy, bottom-of-the-barrel rental property? If so, expect scummy, bottom-of-the-barrel tenants. Personally, I prefer tenants that have six-figure incomes and Pottery Barn furniture and a house cleaner than mine. To get that, I have to provide a worthy property of getting such a tenant. First impressions also matter, and they matter a lot. Keep the lawn mowed when it's vacant, trim the bushes and the trees, and when you show it, turn all the lights on, open the blinds to let in that natural sunlight. And don't show it in the dark. People love to see a light and bright home. One thing that irks me when I walk into vacant houses, especially rental properties, property management companies, are dirty blinds. It costs $12 for a set of blinds at Home Depot or Lowe's, and that is cheap. I would expect to have to pay more than $12 to have somebody clean a set of blinds, so every so often might be worth it to just put new sets of blinds in the property. Oh, and get new light switch covers for the light switches and outlet plates for the plugs. Those are 10 cents a piece, and they make a huge difference in a vacant home. Tenants notice when the property manager or the landlord takes shortcuts. Poor workmanship like uneven flooring and sloppy paint jobs just makes the place feel cheap. So hire qualified professionals to do the work on your jobs. The cheapest person out there isn't going to provide the best quality, and it's going to get reflected in the tenants that choose your place and how much money you get in rent. Another way I get top rents and reduce vacancy is by hosting an open house. Yes, an open house for rentals. I do this because it creates a sense of urgency for tenants. They see a lot of people there at once, they get FOMO, and they feel like, oh my God, this must be the best place out there. Let me fill out my application. So I always have a stack of blank paper applications nearby. Even sometimes I've done a QR code they can scan on their phone to fill out. Not everyone's always going to have all the information available right now to fill out. But if they can take a paper application with you and get next steps, and they see other people doing the same, they're going to have that sense of urgency and that scarcity that they need to hurry up and submit their application for your place. Weekends and early evenings are the best time to host an open house, and I would not do it in the nighttime. For all the reasons I mentioned earlier, you want the place to look light and bright. So no rainy days also if possible. I had a student last year use the open house method for her first rental property, and she got $100 a month more. She had a bidding war on her rental properties, and she ended up getting $100 a month more in rent than she advertised. Another thing I do to get top rent, even if I price it initially slightly below, is I add monthly pet rent to everyone that has a pet. I used to not accept pets at all, and people are going to sneak in pets anyway, so you might as well charge for them. Over 70% of tenants have pets. And a lot of people are looking for single-family homes because they have large dogs, and a lot of apartment complexes won't allow large dogs. Our first rental that we bought doesn't have a properly fenced-in yard, so we can't allow dogs unless the tenant wants to pay for an invisible fence, which no one has said they wanted to do yet. But we've lost out on several potential good tenants because they have dogs. But fencing is expensive. Out here, it's about $22 a linear foot to have a fence. So if you have a large yard, that could be very expensive to put in a fenced property. So keep that in mind when you're looking for properties to buy. Now, to get it to top rent, you need to market it correctly. If you can't take a good picture to save your life, then you need to hire a professional or find a friend to do it for you. Nowadays, our smartphones take really good pictures, and you don't have to invest in an expensive DSLR camera, although they are nice if you have them. You can use Photoshop or Lightroom or some other free photo editing app to brighten up the photos and make sure everything looks good. And then voila, you have professional looking photos. But be sure you do everything though. Close the toilets before taking your pictures. Turn all the lights on in the house. Turn off the spinning ceiling fan that looks blurry in every rental property photo. Open the doors to the backyard before taking photos from the inside looking out. And really avoid taking photos, your listing photos, on a cloudy or a rainy day. And especially when it's dark outside. That should be a no-brainer, but the amount of rental listings that I see that have poor quality photos because they were taken in the nighttime is ridiculous. Good photos are the first impression that a potential tenant has to your property. They're going to look at your photos to decide even if they want to call for a showing. So really good photos is paramount. If you're not getting good activity on your rental listing, check your photos. Okay, moving on. Here is a pro tip. Finding the right tenant is crucial for reducing vacancy. A great tenant pays on time, treats your property with respect, and communicates with you. It all comes down, everything comes down to proper tenant selection and tenant screening. During the application process, let's say you did an open house, you want to ask a series of questions to help you gauge the tenant's reliability and their intentions with their move. Things like, how long do you plan to stay? If they just say 1 year, I'm like, maybe you're not right for me, because I don't want to have to do this all over again, have another month of vacancy. If you have a property manager, you have to pay them another month's rent usually to get a new tenant. You don't really want people that are just there for 1 year. And that's why I do 2-year lease agreements, because if they're willing to stay for 2 years, they're likely willing to stay even longer. And then I ask them, why are you moving? What's your monthly income? Usually, the very first question I ask is, tell me, what's your story? I will get a lot of information that way, even information that I'm not allowed to ask. If they're willing to tell me, I'm listening. Also be conducting credit and background checks, and please don't skip this step. You want to see a solid credit history, minimum to no late payments in the past few years. You want to see any evictions, and a recent criminal history could be some red flags. Personally, I don't have any sympathy towards somebody who got evicted. If you have sympathy for them, I would love to hear why in the comments below. If someone got evicted, it means the landlord asked them to leave, usually because they broke the lease agreement by not paying rent or breaking some other rule, and then the tenant refused to leave after they broke the rules and were asked to leave. Even before a landlord or PM goes to the eviction, landlords and property managers try a slew of other things first. Eviction is the last resort. So if you were evicted, that likely means you broke the rules, you were asked to leave, you were allowed to break your lease early, possibly even offered cash for keys, and through all that, you still said, no, I'm going to stay for free, evict me. Refusing to leave when you're not holding up your end of the bargain in the deal is a really bad character trait. I can overlook a lot of things, but not leaving when you're breaking the rules is something I have absolutely no sympathy for. Having an eviction on your record is a hard no for me, because I don't want to deal with tenants that had that type of character trait. There's a lot of options for tenants out there. If they break the rules and are asked to leave, they can move in with a family member or find a friend. I'm happy to break the lease, but I'm not your mommy, and I'm not going to bail you out in your hard times. That is not my job, and I shouldn't have to foot the bill for that. Another thing you have to do to reduce vacancy in your rentals is make sure your tenants can actually afford to pay rent. I require them to make 3 times the rent. I ask for recent pay stubs and bank statements. Some people out here get paid cash, and they don't have a bank account, and they don't deposit their earnings, and they spend the cash, and then they tell me that they're going to ask their employer to write a letter stating how much they make. If you can't prove your income, you can't live in my house. So most importantly, trust your gut. I had a property listed for rent, and I recently had a mom and a daughter, and I was showing to them. It was a young girl. She was probably 6 or 7. I asked the question, do you have pets? And simultaneously, the mom said no, and the little girl said yes. I asked the mom what the little girl was talking about. She said, oh, we have a little dog, but it's small, so it doesn't count. Then when the mom was FaceTiming her husband or whoever to show them the property over the phone, I was talking to the little girl. And she told me that her uncle and big sister were going to be living there, when the mom only told me it was going to be the 3 of them, mom, daughter, and dad. This was also the lady who told me her husband gets paid under the table, and that she was going to have his employer write a signed letter stating how much he makes. No thanks, lady. Bye. So if something feels off during the screening process and you're getting blatantly lied to, it's okay to say no. Don't ignore it. While data and references are definitely essential, so is your gut feeling. Now, I pride myself on keeping my tenants for a long time. So if you want to keep the tenants you have, then I recommend you not be a slumlord. So that means you need to fix your property, fix it well, and fix things quickly. Happy tenants absolutely stay longer. Another one that I do is I don't raise rents every year. Raising rents every year is a great strategy to keep up with inflation, and you'll hear it all the time on Bigger Pockets and in everybody's courses. That's just textbook. It's not reality. Being a rental property investor is a business, but it is a people business. We do need to treat our tenants like people. This doesn't mean never raising rents, but raising rents just to raise rents, it's not what I do. And there is some math behind my reasoning. A slight increase, even one like $25 a month. Sounds like it shouldn't be a big deal to your tenants, right? And over time, it will add up for you and you're keeping up with inflation. But in 1 year, it only adds like $300 of rental income. But what if you tell your tenant you're going to give them a rent increase? They're going to go online and look to see what the competition is. And what if you just lost your tenant over a $300 increase? Let's say that they pay $1,500 a month. You'll pretty much already be out $1,500 from the get-go once they move out, because you're going to have to pay a property management company usually 1 month's rent just to get that property re-rented. Not to mention turnover expenses from them moving out. You're going to have to do paint touch-ups, finish anything that was broken. If they damaged carpet or ruined your floors, you're going to have to fix that. And now, instead of not getting your measly $25 a month, you've lost a tenant that was paying and thousands of dollars in turnover. Now, remember I told you if you stuck around, I would tell you how I get my tenants to actually ask for a rent increase? All right, this is the time. It's easier if I explain it by giving an example. So here we go. Let's say we have a tenant named Sarah, and Sarah is paying $1,000 a month. It's been a while since we've raised rent, and we have great communication. Fix things on time, and she likes where she lives. So when it's time for a rent increase, I say, hey, Sarah, I haven't raised your rent in a really long time, like 4 years. But in that time, my property taxes have gone up, my home insurance has gone up every year, so we're going to have to do a rent increase this year, and it's going to have to be kind of substantial. I looked around, and properties like yours in this neighborhood are renting anywhere from $1,300 to $1,400 a month right now. If you can get back to me by the end of the week on what you can do for rent, I would really appreciate it. If the property is a couple $100 behind on rent, like this one is, I can almost guarantee you that your tenant will come back with a higher amount than you would ever have been able to get had you straight up asked in the beginning. Imagine if you had called your tenant up and said, straight up, I haven't raised rent in 4 years, so it's going to be an extra $300 a month. They would tell you to peace out. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. If you learned something in this video, please do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's talk and chat in the comments below. I don't want you to miss another video on how to be successful with your very first rental property. And until next time, keep building your wealth brick by brick.